As day one of the Humana Challenge closes, La Quinta Country Club saw a swarm of spectators, all explained by one word: fill. Saturday is normally moving day in a PGA tournament event, and with 3 courses for the Humana Challenge scoring so low, it was easy to move one way or another, as leader Matt Kuchar found out firsthand. A year ago, Patrick Reed held a sizable lead on his way to his first Humana Challenge championship, but this year, well, the final Sunday brought a lot more intrigue and mystery.
Angelo?
Chris, as most of our viewers know, this is the last year Humana is the title sponsor of this event. What's the future look like in relation of getting a new sponsor and more particularly staying in the desert? Kuchar and Reed are right in the thick of things, near the top of the leaderboard, but with perfect scoring conditions expected over the next 3 days, low numbers will have to continue for anyone vying for the Humana Challenge title. Here with Matt Kuchar, you had a 7-under round, great round, but how much is that 18th hole at the green really going to keep you up tonight?
Oh, I don't lose any sleep. That's part of golf.
All right, so Danielle wants to introduce our horses. I'm riding Chibut. She is riding Rubia. We look the part, we're dressed the part. Now let's see if we can actually play the part. He famously said, quote, "We want the ball and we're going to score," end quote. Things didn't end so great for the Hawks back then, but I'll bet their most recent playoff overtime game against the Pack will be just as memorable. Peyton Manning was a pocket passer. That's what he did well. Andrew Luck can do everything, and that's the biggest thing that Bill Belichick's afraid of. Peyton Manning's a no-doubt NFL Hall of Famer, but the thing that's plagued him in his career is that thought of dominating the regular season and always coming up short in the playoffs. It's going to be coming down to the ground game. You know, can Eddie Lacy do enough to be able to move the chains, get the 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and maybe take the time off the clock, take the crowd out of it? Because if Seattle gets a lead and they start doing their run game with beast mode Marshawn Lynch, it's going to be a long day, and the Seahawks are going to be primed to get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, to quote professional wrestler Ric Flair, Chris, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. Woo! Your career, it's obviously been illustrious, but is there anything that, I wouldn't say regret, but is there anything that you just wish that you had done, obviously besides the 6 losses?
Well, look, there's no regret whatsoever.
Yeah, and the 2 guys that they talked about, Chris, were Marcus Mariota for Oregon and Jameis Winston for Florida State. Both stellar quarterbacks, both Heisman Trophy winners in the last 2 years. Now, Mariota's accounted for over 50 Ducks touchdowns, only throwing 2 interceptions. Meanwhile, Jameis Winston just does not lose. You know, they are doing it with their 3rd-string quarterback, Chris. They lost their 1st stringer at the start of the season, lost their 2nd stringer late in the season, and now, who'd have thunk that Urban Meyer would have had the Ohio State Buckeyes playing for the national championship? Should be an exciting matchup against 2 offenses that know how to score points. Well, Coach Murphy told me after the game they're going to enjoy this win for at least a few months before they even bring up the R word, repeat. Of course, when players get some of these on their finger, they may change their tune. So that means Bradley's road to Manny Pacquiao and his WBO welterweight title just got a whole lot bumpier, not to mention the world's pound-for-pound best wants the Pac-Man first. Dodgers shortstop Hanley Ramirez helped the Blue Crew claim back-to-back NL West titles, but if reports are true, we'll head back east where he signed his first baseball contract for the team he never got a chance to play for. You'd have to go way back to see the last time San Diego got an NFL win in South Florida. It was before I was born. It was before Dolphins great Dan Marino even put on a Miami uniform. Bolts have been miserable in Miami since 1982. And spoiler alert, the trend continued. Both La Quinta and Palm Springs entered Week 7 unblemished in DDL play, and really a combined 5 points away from each team being undefeated overall on the season. Oh man, 22nd straight quarters and a grand slam. That's an incredible feat, and one he had fun with. Joker will face Andy Murray. He was just doing his little groove. If there ever was a passing of the torch moment, we may be seeing it at this year's PGA Championship. Tiger Woods is a shell of his former self, and his heir apparent is making Valhalla his personal playground. Well, Rory McIlroy was expected to be golf's next Tiger Woods, McIlroy claiming his first major at the young age of 21, and a year later in 2012 took his 2nd. Now, last year was a bit off for Rory, but if status quo holds true, on Sunday, McIlroy will have his 3rd major championship in the last 4 years. It was pretty simple for the USA soccer team to advance to the knockout stage in this year's World Cup. Win, and they're in. The Americans knew the stakes. The match versus Portugal had been talked about for nearly a week. The build-up certainly lived up to the billing. So the phenomenal Aztec season does come to an end, 1 run short against Bishop Amat. Now, the Aztecs don't have to rebuild. They'll just reload as 5 starting players return for next season. At Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, Angelo Caruso, CBS Local 2 News. Yeah, you couldn't have said it better, Chris. A tough pill to swallow because it seems like this is the only team that the Palm Desert Aztecs can't get past. Now, there were a lot of red eyes in the Aztecs dugout after the game, and for good reason, because they worked so hard to be able to get to this point. They dominated throughout, but they were 6 outs away and unfortunately could not close the door on the Lancers. Yeah, hard for a lot of people to forget, Megan, and for runners, time is the best friend and worst enemy, always against the clock. But at 2:49 Eastern on April 15th of last year, time stood still as the bombs blasted in Boston. The final round of the PGA Championship saw twists and turns that a Hollywood exec would salivate over. Another busy day at Indian Wells Tennis Garden where the top 8 seeds in the women's draw took time out of their busy schedules to talk to yours truly. What do you have to say about this tournament and the fact that they can draw in 431,000 and the players even saying this is our favorite besides possibly the Grand Slams? 13 years in Madison, 13 big dance appearances. But the head Badger has never had a team make it all the way to the Final Four, and Arizona would like to keep it that way. The Tour de Palm Springs brings thousands to our area each and every year for this event. I was fortunate enough to meet a very different group of cyclists who separate themselves from the pack in a very inspiring way. Peyton Manning, a lot's going to be made of the game that he's not having. Do you think that this is really on all of his shoulders or the entire Bronco team in general? Day 1 of the Humana Challenge saw plenty of professionals seeing red, as in red numbers, over the 3 courses here in La Quinta. Chris, Patrick seems like a pretty humble guy, really likes these golf courses here in Palm Desert. Do you think the Humana Challenge could be a launching pad for the rest of his career? You hear the no respect factor overplayed in sports, but for Timothy Bradley, it was real. The Desert Storm made no secret on how badly he wanted to win without question his rematch against Manny Pacquiao, just to prove to you, the public, and all the non-believers that he did indeed beat the Pac-Man the first time around. Well, as Bill Cosby says, the proof is in the pudding. Just call them the Cardiac Kings because LA continues to keep their hockey fans on the brink of a heart attack. It's dominance versus destiny on Monday as undefeated Florida State, who's beaten opponents by at least 14 points in all their previous victories, faces an Auburn team that miraculously won 3 games that maybe they shouldn't have. But either way, it's going to be a fun one on Monday. You know, they were down, Chris. They had a lot of defensive mistakes. Auburn's running game so powerful, so the linebackers kept coming up, and that left the middle of the field wide open. But the game really changed when Florida State, gutsy, went for a fake punt on their own side of the field. It ended up with the Florida State touchdown, and then they started with that momentum in the second half. Since 1978, 13 horses have vied for the Triple Crown. The amount to achieve the feat? 0. 10 finished second or worse. 1 didn't finish at all. Another opted not to run the final jewel back in 2012. So all that was left was California Chrome as lucky number 13, ready to try and break the 36-year drought of a Triple Crown champion.
Have a great rest of your life.
Stuart Scott, way cooler than the other side of the pillow. He was 49 years old. We'll be right back. You're watching Local 2 News.